On September 13th, 2025, a large crowd poured into the Imabari City Public Hall. Why? A symposium to consider the future of Imabari's urban development and to celebrate the achievements and brilliance of Kenzo Tange, the world-renowned architect who designed countless buildings, including the same Imabari City Public Hall. Citizens, students, and architectural enthusiasts alike gathered in Imabari. Welcome. I am Shigeki Tokunaga, Mayor of Imabari and the organizer of today's event. Recently, our city has been receiving a lot of positive attention, and I believe that at the heart of Imabari is its people. So, as we continue to push forward, no matter what obstacles we may encounter, we do so together, with our citizens at the center. And when I say citizens, I'm not just referring to our registered residents. I believe that anyone who wants to do something in this city is its citizen. Today, you are all citizens. So, let us all think together, work together, and promote our city. And with that, I will conclude my opening address by saying, thank you very much, and I hope you enjoy today's event. Part 1 of the symposium is a conversation titled Architecture and Japanese Culture. The speakers are architect Kengo Kuma and, from Uejima, Grand Tea Master and Urban Development Advisor to Imabari City, Soshin Kimura. And now, a conversation between two experts in traditional Japanese culture. We'd like to begin by showing a few slides, and then afterwards, we'll take some time to talk freely. As the theme of today's discussion is architecture and Japanese culture, I'll be talking about the tea ceremony, which is my primary profession. I'll start by talking about tea rooms, the history of Japanese architecture, and how it relates to the cultural landscape. Then, Professor Kuma will speak about architecture, and finally, the two of us will have a discussion. Everyone, what do you think of when you hear the term wabi-sabi? In your own words, can you define wabi? What does sabi mean to you? Or what kind of place is a tea room? Incidentally, there's a replica of Sen no Rikyu's Taian tea room here in Imabari. What do you think? Has anyone here today ever been to a tea room? Ah, I can see a lot of hands. To be expected from a place like Imabari. So, what is a tea room? Of course, it's a space to show guests hospitality during the tea ceremony. However, it does not end there. It must be a space that embodies wabi. Secondly, it's not just about embodying wabi either. It's written in a bit of a pretentious way, but a tea room is a place and time for people to meet. And by people, we don't just mean the guest and the host, but the tea room connects you with people from hundreds of years ago, as well as people in the future. And in addition, the tea room must embody a connection with nature as well. All of these things come together to make something extraordinary. It's a simple thing we can take for granted. Making a cup of tea and drinking it, sharing it with someone. It's something we do in everyday life. But the tea room is a place where we refine that experience, so we can turn the mundane into the extraordinary. I think this is what a tea room is. And there is a real one in Imabari. It's only 2 tatami mats in size, with the reason being to reduce the number of guests to the point where there would only be room for a single host and their guest to meet face to face. Then on the other hand, during the same period as Taiyan, the Golden Tea House was also created. If you want to use the finest materials to entertain the finest guests, you might think gold, the most precious material, would be an appealing choice to welcome the emperor of the day. Then this is something more modern. These sorts of designs might start to appear more often in response to Professor Kuma's work. But a tea room must have some form of expression. It's not interesting to merely copy or rework designs from history. The essence of wabi is that the intangible is valued over the material. In showing that the pursuit of material wealth is secondary, the tea room emphasizes doing with your own hands. The space is designed to be small, so no matter how great a lord or important a person you are, you have to do everything yourself to show your appreciation for the other person. That is the culture of the tea ceremony. Even though you could have built a magnificent palace and enlisted help, you chose not to, and instead, you offer your hospitality with your own two hands. As we live in an age where we need to value the connections between people, it is essential to create an intimate space where one can feel the tranquility of a mountain, even while in the city. Extraordinary, isn't it? The idea that there was no need to build lavish palaces was the essence of wabi's aesthetic. It meant that enjoying life and hosting others became irrelevant to your social standing. The tea room was sought after as a place to bring humans and nature closer together. And as a result, they endured and have been passed down to the people of today. Tea rooms were designed to reflect the lives, landscapes, and atmosphere of the people in that area. And with that, I'll end my speech for now. Thank you. Today, I'd like to talk about the relationship between the Kenzo Tange Memorial and the tea room. Last year, as Mayor Tokunaga mentioned, there was an exhibition held in Paris about my and Mr. Tange's work. It occurred to me then that there were some similarities between us. Mr. Tange, who designed the stadium for the 1964 Tokyo Olympics, and myself, who designed the 2021 stadium. Actually, until then, I'd never really thought about what similarities we shared. Many French people came to the exhibition. The three major French newspapers published big articles about it and said about our work, "You can feel nature." We are actually in one of Mr. Tange's buildings right now. And in Japan, when we think of concrete buildings, we might wonder, which part of concrete is natural? But Mr. Tange's concrete actually has a wood grain texture to it. It was cast using cedar framework. This leaves an imprint of the wood's grain. Later, when you look at the building from the outside, you can see the texture of the wood grain in the concrete. Le Corbusier, who pioneered modern architecture at the beginning of the 20th century, and whom Mr. Tange greatly respected, saw concrete as an abstract, textureless white block. So the starting point for concrete was something like the Villa Savoye, a masterpiece of French modern architecture, which I'm sure you've all heard about. The idea that concrete is a natural material with a natural texture was, in a sense, a Japanese invention. So this texture did not exist before Mr. Tange began using it? Well, there is something called raw concrete or béton brut, but it simply means that the concrete is left unpainted. Actually imprinting a natural texture is said to be a Japanese innovation. Later, it was actually Le Corbusier who was influenced by Japan, as he admitted himself. In the 1950s, he began a small project in India called Chandigarh. Chandigarh is in India after all, so the surface of the materials was very rough. And that is what is called brutalism. In that sense, brutal is the same as wabi-sabi, because it means wild. The term brutalism was coined later, but really its origins are with the Japanese architecture of Mr. Tange. Even something man-made, like concrete, can be transformed into something natural, which is why we use concrete to recreate logs. I think that's a sensibility unique to the Japanese people. Its heyday was in the 1950s, and the buildings in Imabari are exactly that sort of brutalist architecture. They were ahead of the rest of the world. Sekai no Tange, literally Tange of the world, was one of the themes of this symposium. And people usually take this to mean that he was known around the world. But I want to stress that it isn't just that he was famous, but that he was influential as a global pioneer. I think we should acknowledge that aspect as well. We would also love to see some of your own work, Professor, of course. You can see the Great Wall of China in Beijing here, and this building was constructed right next to it. In the middle, there's a tea room-inspired area that I made. Actually, what was interesting about this was that the blueprints had the bamboo as 6 centimeters in diameter, with 6 centimeter gaps in between. The on-site manager called and said, "Kuma-san, we started working on the project, but the bamboo were all different thicknesses and crooked. It's awful." So I said, "If it's as bad as you say, I'll come and see it right away." And so I went. It turned out to be surprisingly good. It was exactly what we were talking about today, wabi-sabi. It was uneven, some bamboo 6 centimeters, some 5, some 9, and all of them crooked. I thought, this is pretty good. The more natural it looks, the more real it becomes. Yes, I think you can see the difference in thickness just by looking at this photo. But the Chinese film director, Zhang Yimou, who was the general producer of the Beijing Olympics, saw this and said he wanted to capture it in a commercial for the Olympics. He also wanted to use it in the main footage for the opening ceremony. He really understood the concept of wabi-sabi. As for this, we asked Mr. Kimura to hold a tea ceremony there. The shape is similar to an oribe tea bowl, but elongated. We made it out of a membrane and constructed it in the garden of the Museum for Design and Crafts in Frankfurt. It inflates like a balloon. That's right. In a balloon, the inner wall and the outer wall are the same, which is an effect I wanted to achieve. It makes you feel as if you're surrounded by natural light. That's right. And this is a tea room we installed at the National Building Museum in Washington, D.C. Above it, there is a helium balloon draped with super organza, which is the world's lightest fabric, invented in Japan. The balloon was made here in Japan, so we folded it up small and packed everything into a single trunk for the installation. Only the tatami mats were sourced in America. I always like to introduce people to this space because I think it's one of the most wonderful examples of a compact tea room. Just covering it with that thin piece of cloth creates such an extraordinary kind of place. Yes, this is what Sen no Rikyu tried to do with his Taian tea house. He wanted to make clay walls that were only 4 centimeters thick. But with modern materials, we can create something even thinner and lighter. Actually, we've received many requests for this piece, so we've made replicas in Japan and have distributed them globally. The world of tea is still going strong. The theme of incorporating nature into your work is very important to you, isn't it? That's right. So if people think of Imabari, where Mr. Tange spent much of his time, as the starting point of that idea, I think I will have conveyed what I wanted to today. But to find out what Mr. Tange actually tried to accomplish here, you'll have to return this afternoon for the symposium, which I hope you're all looking forward to. I believe that's our time. Thank you very much. Part 2 of the symposium is a panel discussion titled Learning from Kenzo Tange, Urban Planning for the Future. The panelists are Kengo Kuma, Kenko Tange, the son of Kenzo Tange, and the mayor of Imabari City, Shigeki Tokunaga. Moderated by Saikaku Toyokawa, associate professor at Chiba University. The theme of the discussion is urban planning for the future of Imabari City. Hello, my name is Saikaku Toyokawa from Chiba University. Thank you for joining us. We've prepared 3 topics for discussion at today's symposium. The first is modern architecture in Imabari City. The second is art and urban development. And we'd like to finish our discussion with the third theme, revitalizing Imabari City's downtown area. My name is Kenko Tange. My father, Kenzo Tange, is from Imabari. And this photo perfectly encapsulates his vision for the city. There are 3 buildings in Imabari: the City Hall, the Public Hall, and the Civic Center, and also the plaza between them, which forms a center line through the city extending straight to the Seto Inland Sea. These form the basis of my father's work. But it wasn't just the architecture itself. As was mentioned in the first video about my father, he was a man who valued architecture not as a standalone, but as a means for us to connect with a town and the environment around it. My father's ideas were born in Imabari City, and from here, he was able to spread his wings and share those ideas with the world. The starting point of everything was right here, which is why I'm so excited to be here in Imabari today. Of course, Mr. Tange is a pioneer and the leading figure in modern Japanese architecture. But at the same time, there is a sense of great greenery in his work. Mr. Tange's genius, with respect to Imabari City, is that you can feel very close to nature and the sea here. When I was charged with the construction of the National Stadium in 2021, I also thought deeply about how to incorporate this greenery. But in 2021, I wanted to use wood, not concrete, as my main material, and combine it with the natural environment. But I kept the architecture of Mr. Tange's 1964 stadium in mind. And in 1994, I came here myself to Oshima Island, just beyond Imabari, and built this observation park on Mount Kiro. This is the cross-section. The architecture is not meant to stick out, but to be hidden, buried in the earth, with a spacious atmosphere created within. Overall, I designed this facility with green architecture in mind, and this is the result. If you go up this grand staircase, the Seto Inland Sea opens out in front of you, and you're greeted with the incredible view that everyone in this area knows so well. Speaking of my own buildings, this is one I built in Scotland. This red area is the building, and this is the central point or axis of the road. In this picture, this road is Union Street, and it's a little hard to see, but the axis is straight. And to use Mr. Tange's language, we call it a spine. And this spine goes straight through the building. And this gap in the middle lines up perfectly with the spine. And if you follow that line into the city, it comes out onto Union Street, And this is the architecture that was truly influenced by Imabari. I faithfully studied Mr. Tange's idea of connecting the axis of the city with the sea, just like he did in Imabari. At this point, I would like to ask Mayor Tokunaga to talk about Imabari as seen through the lens of both modern architecture and as a city on the sea. Unlike these two, I am not an architect. The way I see it, my current position is to be the manager of the Imabari family. And I don't think that there are many cities designed with this idea of centerline architecture. So, I wanted the local citizens to know about these things, which is why I planned this homecoming exhibition in Imabari. I want to make Imabari a global city of the Seto Inland Sea. Japan is a maritime nation. And as I'm sure you're all aware, 99.6% of the maritime industry is in marine logistics. Our town has opened up and embraced the sea. In that sense, it has many windows onto the world. I believe that this was the thought that Mr. Tange had in mind when he designed this town 70 years ago. And now, we will explore the topics of art and urban development and the revitalization of Imabari's downtown district. The Sekai no Tange, or Global Tange, special exhibition began in August this year, being held at 3 locations in Imabari City, including the Civic Center. Sekai no Tange has been promoted both domestically and internationally. The theme of discussion is the relationship between Kenzo Tange and the future of Imabari as a city of the arts. Actually, just after this exhibition closes, another event, Art Venture Ehime, will begin in October. This art event will be spearheaded by the prefecture, but Imabari City will also be playing an important role. The project is being led by Tokyo University of the Arts President, Katsuhiko Hibino. Imabari will exclusively host the Tange Architecture Zone, which will have the public hall and Civic Center as its venues. Preparations are currently underway for this event, which will feature contemporary art and theatrical pieces. The point of this exhibition is not to say that Kenzo Tange was amazing or anything like that, but rather that everyone should recognize Imabari as the birthplace of his ideas. And then, everyone can think about those ideas and how they can be applied to today. Of course, we up here will have our roles as well. But this is for you, the people, to think about how you want your city to develop. We want you to think, Kenzo Tange was from here, wasn't he? And we want you to know what kind of person Kenzo Tange was and what kind of ideas he had. And if you really realize that he was here before the Seto Inland Sea, in Imabari, the city where he was raised, this gateway to the world, you can capture that same energy which inspired him. And you can harness it again. Our town used to be a colorful place, but with the population declining and as times change, that color is gradually fading. And now, it's as if Imabari has become black and white. I think it's heading towards a decline. How to bring it back is not just about the quality of our resources. It's about how we can combine them, using the best materials in that way and expressing it with art. That is what I think Art Venture Ehime will be able to accomplish. This photo shows Imabari shortly after the war. Imabari was hit by air raids 3 times, and absolutely nothing was left. And this is Imabari today. I believe that it was Mr. Tange, our honorary citizen, who built the foundations of this imabari, and the people of that time inspire great courage among all of us. Among the cities of the world, there are some who say that Imabari has real momentum at the moment. And the cities that gain momentum are often those that are connected to the sea. These sorts of cities have great potential for growth. It's just a matter of reconnecting to the sea. And in his drawings from the 1950s, Mr. Tange had clearly already planned for this. The plaza is already there. So, if we reconnect it and its pathway to the sea, the city could really develop. It looks to me like everything is already in place for Imabari's growth. And then, on a smaller scale, if things like public events, art pieces and the like are incorporated, those small things can add up, and when combined with the big concept, can create a really brilliant effect. As Mr. Kuma said, we are truly grateful that you have all preserved these buildings, the plaza, and its pathway. So, with your help, we can sow small seeds to see our city grow. And I have also heard that there are already plans being made to initiate an artist-in-residence program. We really appreciate each of those seeds you sow. And when the artists come to Imabari, talk to them and ask them, what are you making? So that they can feel welcomed and become new friends to the city, thinking, I had such a good time in Imabari. I want to go back there sometime. As was mentioned, I believe it's up to all of you to rebuild that connection with the sea. And it was that belief that led my father to build the Plaza Pathway. And so, as Mr. Kuma said, the stage is set. The next question is how to make use of it. And of course, we up here will do whatever we can to help, so long as you can feel free to say, let's try this, or let's try that, or Mr. Mayor, wouldn't it be interesting if we did something like this? I mentioned sowing seeds, but I think it is important for everyone to examine what kind of seeds you can plant. A few years ago, when I spoke with Mr. Tokunaga and the city officials, he mentioned the term Tange Museum and the idea of such a museum being built here in Imabari. I was a bit taken aback at the time. I wondered, what would a Tange museum even look like? I couldn't picture it at the time. But recently, I've been thinking about something very strongly. I don't think I've even mentioned it to Mr. Tokunaga yet. I think it would be wonderful if we could change the definition of a Tange museum and instead make this entire area, including the town city hall, the public hall, the civic center, the plaza, and its pathway into the Tange Museum. Instead of merely displaying works, we could create a town centered around a culture of art, bringing together artists from Japan and around the world. Rather than using art to spur urban development, we can revitalize the town by attracting artists naturally. If everyone began calling this city the Tange Museum, I think it would be very much in line with how my father saw the world, as an intersection of cities, architecture, and people. Not a museum showcasing Tange's works, but an entire city that conveys my father's vision within urban development. A city that embodies his philosophy and ideas. I think that kind of museum would be truly amazing. I hope all of you here today continue to love this town. And think of Kenzo Tange, who created a part of it, and his ideas. The most important thing for you to do now is to take those ideas, make them your own, and think about the future. Rather than looking back to the past, think about today, think about the future, think about how the young people can use these ideas to make this town into one of the world's leading cities. Thank you. I was appointed to my current position 5 years ago. I thought this way then, and I think this way now. And I'd like to first share with you what kind of city and era we're living in. There is an index called The Best Countryside to Live In, published by Takarajima-sha. And for 3 years running, Imabari City has been ranked #1 by far among young people, single people, seniors, and families with young children. It has also received the Japan Child Care Support Award. Basically, we want citizens here to realize that even by absolute external metrics, this city you live in is a wonderful place. At the same time, we need to set goals for ourselves. There are many people, including Professor Kuma, Professor Kenko, and perhaps Professor Ito, who are thinking of ways to help Imabari achieve those goals. In addition, it's not just the maritime industry which is thriving. Everyone is working hard and doing their best. If we want Imabari to remain a wonderful city 30, 50, even 100 years from now, this is the time to make that dream a reality. I think that the heart of this city is its downtown area. It has the city hall and civic center, and Mr. Tange envisioned that area as a town square. I would like for it to reclaim that role. As you can see, the path is currently lined with trees, but I would like to see even more changes in this town, so that everyone can relax and enjoy themselves more. This picture is a perfect starting point for all of us to discuss our city. The vision for Imabari is for the port and town to be intimately connected. I would be thrilled if everyone can take their passion for developing Imabari and step into the heart of the city itself.